Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great day as we go into the weekend. So, I want to talk about Bitcoin Cash today. Now, if you know the history of me and this channel, you know that I've been a big believer in Bitcoin Cash for a very long time. And I feel that Bitcoin Cash it was always one of my go-to cryptos, from just transferring value back and forth. Um, but I don't think Bitcoin Cash got a lot of respect it deserved. And then over the course of the internal civil wars and forks, and then talk of even more forks, I think that's was the some of the setbacks for Bitcoin Cash. But let's talk about a lot of great things that Bitcoin Cash has done and where it's going in the future, and why I think this makes so much sense. And I think you all are going to agree with me when you really hear what I got to say about this. Excuse me. So the first part is, let's start with the very early history of Bitcoin Cash. Let's just briefly touch on what happened and how it came to be. So Bitcoin, as many of us know, when we started the Satoshi white paper, it is described as a digital currency, right? Now, you got to remember, this is 2009 or so, 2000, and the concept of how the blockchain exists today didn't exist back then. Like, nobody, as far as we know, was able to kind of see the future and go, oh, they're going to be building all these different applications on the blockchain. We're going to have all these different algorithms working with the blockchain. And what you basically got in many people's minds of the time was some type of currency, right? Some type of digital currency. Oh, this is some type of internet money, right? And that was it. It wasn't all this elaborate, complex mindsets for most people in the space, right? To think of it as anything more than that. And the white paper didn't really describe it as anything much more than that. The problem occurs when you start to get your big wigs in, your big institutional investors, your venture capitalists, and so on and so forth, right? These people want to make money, right? Now, the desires of Satoshi and the anarchists and many other people that were pivotal and instrumental parts to Bitcoin, and I always describe it as the greater parts of the system isn't just in the money aspect or the capitalistic aspect, but in the social movements behind it. And many people forget that a lot of things that pushed Bitcoin to the forefront was the mantra of freedom, freedom from centralized banks, freedom from government, so on and so forth, right? That mantra was a great inclusion into what drove the romanticism of Bitcoin. Now, if you look at cryptocurrency today, it's just some company, some place making something to try to make more money or pump more markets or make people more money. This is something vastly different than the than the early days of cryptocurrency, right? And most things have just now played out like a Ponzi scheme. I don't really care what cryptocurrency project it is. The way it's presented some type of pyramid Ponzi scheme where, oh, you got to FOMO in before everybody else does. And the first round of people on the top, they're going to make the money and they're going to get rich and you're not. Then it's on to the next project, okay. So we know traditional investment markets don't really work like that, right? But anyway, that's what happened with that. Now, to fast forward, how does the debacle happen? Well, what happens is when the network is growing and it's getting burdensome and it's getting congested, and there has to be something done about it, right? Got to do something about these block sizes, right? To be able to move more transactions through, because you're going to have a situation like what they have on Ethereum a lot. You're going to have slower transactions. You're going to have something that can't realistically function as a currency because it would be so impractical that people wouldn't want to use it. They wouldn't see a way to use it. And interesting enough, many people at the dawn Bitcoin, you're going back pre-2013 and so on and so forth. Well, speak of these events. I was listening to an economist last night. Speak of these events where they were transacting Bitcoin a lot like money. You know, there were more Bitcoin ATMs around. There was this idea in their minds as well that Bitcoin was going to be some global currency. But over the years, as that narrative changed, many of those vendors and the commerce that was helping to drive Bitcoin has went away. It then became or tried to become digital gold, right? Which was pretty much outside of what the white paper was talking about, pretty much outside of what the direction of some in Bitcoin wanted to go. So, of course, this is how you end up with the fork in Bitcoin Cash, because what Bitcoin Cash is saying is it should be a currency and it should move value. Now, keep in mind, right, that when you're looking at the history, the 6,000-year history of gold, right, gold did become a money. That is true. It was used as a money, and it functioned as a money for many thousands of years. But the problem is money and gold, they evolutionized, or there was an evolution of gold getting to the plateau of store value, right? It was proven through use of the money and through the evolution of monetary systems over the ages, right? So it wasn't just a manufactured, you're here, you're now the gold replacement, right? It just didn't work like that, right? There are many social dynamics. There are many value systems that go into creating something into the store value idea, right? There are many reasons gold was accepted as a store of value that range from religion to jewelry to basically ceremony, right? Chemistry and so on and so forth. You lead up even to today, semiconductors and computer systems and car engines and a variety of things. But all of these things played into making gold a $9 trillion market. It wasn't just a point on a map, but it was an evolution. That's important. I want you to keep that in mind with what I'm trying to say here. I believe all those elements were necessary to get gold to that point. We get this acceleration. We get this acceleration with Bitcoin to that point. Bitcoin Cash tries to stay as a currency. Keep in mind, currencies are the most usable, utilitized assets there are. They trade more than anything combined. The US dollar and the euro, right? These are assets that do that, right? So currencies are useful, right? That's why they're still very important. So Bitcoin Cash understood this. It understood the adoption mechanism, what it needed to do, and why it needed to be a currency. And it sought after that. And you got some problems now, because what you got now is you got people who value the people at the top who are now holding most of this Bitcoin. They value keeping that money, and it's very similar to many other cryptocurrency projects today, over progress of what could be one of mankind's greatest technologies ever created. They value their personal stakes over that. This is a huge problem with the development of human beings, in that people are willing to hold back advancement for their own personal gain. And let's point out some clear examples of that without naming any project specifically. But I can give you many examples of people that are willing to keep their money in value in cryptocurrency projects that they know have no future, that they know will probably be done away with over the next several years. But they're willing to not only hold up their value in this, but to stop the evolution of the space to the point of they're also doing everything they can to stop any competitors, right? Because they don't want that competitor to compete with them. They don't want any competition. And this is the narrative and story of Bitcoin Core, or what we call Bitcoin. And so I want Bitcoin people to understand that we understand about network security. We understand about how some people felt that Bitcoin Cash was kind of scammy and just a way to try to take value out of Bitcoin or something to that effect. We get that. But you also have to understand that the reasoning behind the Bitcoin Cash fork, if you really do the research and look at it, I would have to believe and say it was very much so in the area of a justified direction, right? Now, what happened after that with the Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, forks, and things that are looming on the horizon, I can't speak to that, right? I didn't get deep into that. But when we go back to the very beginning of what happened with Bitcoin and what the big challenges were and what the big philosophies were and outcomes were going to be, it makes a lot of sense, I believe, what happened with Bitcoin Cash. Now, whether you want to say Bitcoin Cash is more centralized than other coins or not, I think what's important to understand is that even if you look at someone like Satoshi, right, who still ended up with a large amount of coins. Now, some people will say, well, yeah, he created it, he was at the forefront, and maybe it is quite justified he should have got millions of Bitcoin, over a million Bitcoin, or whatever his holdings are now. But it doesn't stop the fact that to some degree, even trying to create the most decentralized system still lead, at least in the very beginning, to some area of centralization, whether it be through the wealth or the mining or what have you. And those are things we can never really take away from that equation. Let me suggest this, or let me move to this. Knowing those things to be true, instead of making a big thing about decentralization of this technology from the start, why not make a big thing about the decentralization of this technology throughout its evolution of where it ends up? For example, instead of worrying about who started where, when, what, and where, why not worry about down the line and down the future, what mechanism is involved in these cryptocurrency projects to make sure we end up with the best distribution system and that we don't end up with a dual economy or a non-existent middle class or just five guys at the top holding all the Bitcoin. Grayscale owns now 2.5% of Bitcoin, almost half of what Satoshi owns. And what's the stopping point with these guys? I mean, is it possible they could own 10, 20% of Bitcoin to the point that the Bitcoin's decentralization that so many have fought for and argued for is threatened? I don't know, but that seems to be what's happening. And some of these things are just inherent flaws to a capitalistic approach in systems. Whereas in the 21st century, I think we're leading off to create better ideas and better systems, right? But if you can understand all of what I said about the early history of Bitcoin Cash, because I know of the negative information out there about Bitcoin Cash, I think we can go forward with this and have a clear idea of what's happening with Bitcoin Cash and what Bitcoin Cash has been seeking to do. And they just haven't been getting, I think, enough credit. But I've always given them credit. I've always liked the products. And now I'm going to be covering Bitcoin Cash a lot more, in my videos. Something I didn't do before because they hadn't quite made the developments they've made now, but they have made some very significant advances, and we got some to talk about for some time with Bitcoin Cash now. So what happened with Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin Cash is starting to have a lot of things built on them, right? And that's very interesting because this is something Bitcoin wasn't able to achieve, right? We were trying to find out what to do with Bitcoin and how to use Bitcoin and why we're using it. And, nothing's being meanwhile built on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Cash clearly knows the problem through its structure and organization. It kind of feels more like a Dash type project, right? It feels like there's a head to it. And I know a lot of people don't like that, and they say, "Oh, it's it's centralized and it's this crap and that." But the fact of the matter is, as we described earlier, there sometimes to achieve the most optimal level of a network does need to be some type of lead direction, some type of blueprint or plan going forward into the future. And Bitcoin Cash seems to operate that way as they go into more regions, as they have workshops and set up vendors, and how they approach the areas they expand to. I just feel this is it is going to be very essential to doing any of the things that we're talking about doing. I think the cryptocurrency space is a little bit disillusioned about what it takes to adopt networks and adopt people, right? It's not a just you build it, they will come, you build it, they will use it type mentality. Sometimes you really have to show people why this is good for them. And Bitcoin Cash has done a good job. It hasn't done everything right, but it has done a very good job in comparison to other cryptocurrency projects, as well as holding its value, right? Um, SLP tokens, that's what we want to talk about today, right? That's what we want to talk about today. We're on one of the applications now built on Bitcoin Cash. You all know how much I feel like social networks are the future. You look at social networks, you look at what would happen if Facebook Libra Coin created a cryptocurrency with a potential 2.5 billion users integrated into the Facebook social network. You would have a currency global remittance system that would rival the entire monetary system of the world. This is why the United States government was so hard off of after Facebook. Notice they didn't go hard after Bitcoin. They didn't shut down anybody's server on Bitcoin yet. But they shut Facebook. They tried their best to cease all operations, stop this, right? The dangers of weakening that US dollar's integrity, and many of these other currencies, is what you get when you have the ability to mass adopt and grow. And so Bitcoin Cash is doing the things that are getting the adoption. Social networks, what would be a best way? What social networks are one of the best means to adopt cryptocurrency because people are accustomed to it. They know how to use it. They have to use it every day. Social media has become a necessity in our lives as an information stream, as communication. Communication is one of the most important. Think of the history of communication. The history of bad communication held human beings back for millions of years, right? It is only at the advent of great new communication systems that we really took off, right? In something like social media, I don't have to explain that many of you can't live without your social media applications, right? But integrating crypto into that and doing it right to a point where people care and they're doing these little posts and they can send value back and forth and it's being executed right on the right chain, um, is very powerful, very powerful, beyond what I can express. And if you don't quite understand what I'm saying, go back to the example I gave about Facebook Libra Coin. And if your cryptocurrency project isn't doing it, I don't care what it's trying to say or do. Communicating with human beings in terms they can understand through a network that they care about is going to be a lot more important than trying to create some new fancy system that people may or may not care about. Bitcoin Cash seems to know the blueprint of going into nations where they're going into Southeast Asia, they're going to Africa, Latin America, wherever they're headed. They seem to have this formula similar to Dash, how to go into these places, help to set up businesses, workshops to accept Bitcoin Cash. Isn't this what's necessary for adoption? Right? I believe it is. I believe it is. And Bitcoin, um, together with all these cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin Cash, and they've grown their market cap to billions of dollars, $200 billion, right? That sounds pretty good. But it doesn't sound great for a monetary system, right? Bitcoin still has a long way to go when you have single companies in the United States that have valuations that dwarf them 3, 4 times over, right? So when you think of it in that terms, doesn't seem that impressive over 10 years, does it? You know, Facebook is not much older than Bitcoin. You're only talking about maybe another, what, 5 years or so? So it's not that much older. So, um, so Bitcoin Cash invents SLP tokens. Let's talk about them real quick and why they're so important. SLP tokens, what are they? What are they? Because I've been talking a long time, giving this history lesson, longer than I thought I should be talking. But so SLP tokens, let's take a look at what they are. And I'm trying to speed it up a little bit, guys, because I didn't want to do the whole history of Bitcoin Cash. But I thought it was necessary because the first thing we get a lot of is that Bitcoin Cash is this terrible thing that is, replacing or attempting to replace Bitcoin in some capacity. But you see these coins here. Now, what SLP coins are? They're very similar to ERC20 tokens. But there's some big differences here. There's some huge differences. And Memo.cash not only has this social network built on top of, again, they thought of everything. That's why I love what Bitcoin Cash doing so great. I mean, they couldn't have, it's almost like they went in my brain and created this. They got the social network linked with the actual exchange you could do here on Memo.cash. Sell your tokens, you pick up your tokens, you can earn them, and you're posting it, and so on and so forth. But let's talk about some huge differences here, and why Bitcoin Cash is so great at this. And I think it's just a matter of time before people discover it and really use it. And the only thing I'm a little shocked at is that with Bitcoin Cash doing something like this, I can see they didn't put a lot of marketing into this, right? They didn't spend any marketing on this. And they have set up these funds now, but however they're distributing these funds out, I don't think they're doing a good job at it, because certain projects should have received enough marketing dollars for onboarding, and maybe even better, the UI is fair and is simple enough, to more important part, to get people to use it. But with the type of value in Bitcoin Cash, they could have really great UIs, really great looking social networks that look more like the social networks that we use online. And I believe they could do that, and should have done that. And I think, and if they would have took it a little bit more serious, I think they would have delivered a fantastic product. But it's not too late, and my assumption is they're going to do that, right? That this is going to get better. But SLP tokens are just like ERC20 tokens. But here's the big differences, right? You can create, anybody can create a token, but to create an ERC20 token, you're talking a lot more money than it costs to create a SLP token or a Bitcoin Cash token, right? And in relation to the only other project I felt used to be one of my top favorite projects, the Waves Exchange. You all probably heard of that. Same concept. Anybody could create a Waves token, very cheap, and you get all these thousands of tokens being created, and just people trying it out, creating these transactions, putting value in that. And a lot of people don't like additional token creation because they fear fraud and scams and things like that. And those are something we're going to have anyway. That's something we had before that, and something that we're going to have way after that. But we've also become a lot more sophisticated in the space where a lot of these things no longer hold up like, oh, this thing got Bitcoin in it. So you're confusing people and they're thinking it's Bitcoin and it's a scam. And see, those type of things I think are long overgone. I think the space and people have got so sophisticated now, they know the difference in if they're buying Bitcoin or some other, altcoin, right? They know that. I don't think it's a realistic conversation to have that they somehow confused and they're going, oh, I thought I bought Bitcoin. Well, that's what the problem is. We need to get rid of this fraud coin, right? But I think it's that's not the case at all in that. And so the token creation isn't a problem. The token creation is actually helping the amount of transactions that are going through, and it's helping build a space up. It's helping people who, in this novelty like idea, want to participate, have their own cryptocurrency. It could be a meme coin, it could be Dogecoin, just to jerk around and play around with. But what they're getting is they're getting this inclusivity into the network, and they're telling their friends, come over here and play with this toy token I got over here, and they're having fun. They're bringing new people in, right? So there's good components to that. But the problem with Waves and Ethereum are the transactions. They're way too high. It costs way too much to create a Waves. And I mean, Wave is actually reasonable now, but it's greatly in relation to the value of the cryptocurrency. And so I think when I created a Waves token, it was probably between 11 and 15, 16 bucks or something. So when I created, I actually had to pay something like 15, 16 bucks. Not a lot of money, not a lot of money. Go on Ethereum, it might be 30, 40 bucks. You go on some other networks, it might be hundreds of dollars, or whatever. But get ready for this, to create an SLP token that you're probably not going to make any money with if you're just, not a serious project. You're just playing around with it. I think it cost them like 10 cents to do it. And that's going to make a lot of people want to participate and have fun. And where they put their social media at is where their cryptocurrency's at, right? So they can do everything in one place, like on a system like Memo.cash. So that's pretty darn interesting. But there's a more important element here that we need to pay attention to with this. And that is that doing transactions on Bitcoin Cash are not only efficient and fast, but doing transactions on Bitcoin Cash, fee-wise, are ridiculously low, right? I almost feel like it's free. So this Uniswap airdrop that came out like, let's see here, wasn't long ago. I wasn't involved in it. I didn't get to participate. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason I didn't get to participate is because I always felt Ethereum gas fees and charges were so much and so ridiculously high that I would opt to use Bitcoin Cash or use blockchains like Steem or Hive that through the network, you didn't even have to really pay for transactions. You just had an account, right? Because it's just so ridiculous. You're paying 20, 30 bucks for one transaction, right, on Ethereum network. And whereas people are okay with that and they can live with that and they can live with these terrible wallets that you have to sync and that there's like no way a new person onboarding in is going to understand. For some reason, they still like it and they invest money into it. And a lot of that just has to do, again, with something we started earlier, which has more to do with the legacy of that's where my bags are. And I got to keep my money in there or I'm going to lose money, and advancement of human beings. And that's why I was always a big believer of forks too, because if you think in comparison to a fork, what does a fork do? Fork usually gives everybody the same ratio of cryptocurrency at the same level, yet makes needed changes of advancement in some cases to make the platform better, to make the concept better. And nobody really gets cheated in a sense because you got the same coins there that you got over here. So it wasn't just like you got diluted, so to speak. But when other cryptocurrencies, come out, it's a problem because now you got to sell the bag you're holding for that because the price is going up or it's in competition with your coin and your coins losing and so on and so forth. So it creates this tribalism, right? Creates this tribalism. So this tribalism, it clouds our judgment to the point we're doing things that don't even make sense, right? We're not making usable products. We're not making easy to use products. We're not mass adopting. We're not doing any of those things. We're just trying to protect our bags. SLP, the simple ledger protocol, right? In a world where many of us believe that pretty much everything you're doing has some transferable value, right? That many of our concepts about money may not be correct. That at the end of the day, maybe money is just a piece of paper, but what's important is our relationships and the value transfer amongst each other, right? If you could tokenize anything, what you would want to have then is a way to do it at the most efficient way, the easiest way, right? So I can come into the simple ledger protocol and I can create a token. And I don't have to have any experience or skill in computer programming or blockchain technology. I can create this thing on a very easy UI, user interface, in about a minute for like 10 cents. And I'm using this thing, right? Um, and so in that world where we believe a lot of things are going to be tokenized, we're going to tokenize the world. You're going to be doing things for somebody going to say, hey, thanks a lot. I'm going to send you this token, right? I'm going to send you this token. Then you would want usability, this easy, fees that don't cost you an arm and leg, speed of the transaction so you're not waiting for days like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And Bitcoin Cash has all of these things as well as a synergistic system where they're well connected to banks as to when you need to move beyond fiat and cryptocurrency through systems and services like BitPay and so on and so forth. They're well connected with businesses around the world and sending in teams to help these businesses set up Bitcoin Cash, vending systems and modules and so on and so forth. And nobody's incentivizing Bitcoin really to do that, right? Bitcoin gets to, at this point in time at least, live off of its legacy. But nothing in that legacy says anything about advancement. And nothing in that legacy says anything about change for the better. And we know that change comes to everything at some point. And if it doesn't, we don't grow. And if we don't grow, we die in some cases. The SLP, the Simple Ledger Protocol, seems to have carefully thought about all of most of our problems in cryptocurrency, right? And doing an excellent job of dealing with them, right? From the wallets to just their approach globally. But it's more than that. The SLP tokens are free to be transferred back and forth to one another on many applications. We're going to look at one of such application right now. SLP tokens like BitcoinMyk.com, our project we're involved in. And make sure that you get the we'll try to leave a link in the description. Make sure you get the Zapit wallet. This wallet is integrated with Memo.cash, the social network exchange system that we just showed you a second ago. And through this wallet application is really cool. You can send your SLP tokens back and forth, and you can trade against other major cryptocurrency pairs on the system. And interesting enough, as you can see, this was a big deal. They were able to get Tether. Tether is on the Bitcoin Cash network now as well. One of their stable coins, Honest Coin, and of course the exchange token itself, Zapit, right? The ZAPT token. Just for signing up for one of these cool wallets, you're gonna get I think it's like 10 of their tokens, but you need to use our referral code and all you need to do is go here to our profile section, go drop down here, and here you just put who you're referred by, right? And in your case, it would be Btcmyk, and you're going to stick that in your referred by section, right? And that's going to allow you to get a free cryptocurrency right from there, which is a valuable cryptocurrency. And you can trade with. I think just for sign up, you might get something anywhere from the range of 20 cents to $1 or something like that. Just for signing up and using that referral code, and you can refer others. But that's pretty darn cool. But these wallets, as you can see, how the wallet itself is laid out, right? It's a very, very simple to use wallet, and kind of reminds you of PayPal or something, or Cash App. And the cool thing is when you create your SLP tokens, I notice that when I do my transfers and I send them out, it doesn't cost me anything at all, right? So you can send them absolutely free. Your SLP coins is, as far as I know, if I understand it correctly, I believe it's free, and I believe there's something that's happening on many of the Bitcoin Cash network. A simple, easy to use wallet that integrates into a social network on the Bitcoin Cash network, that has Tether on it, that has stable coins on it, that you can send money to anybody you want. You can top up your wallets with any currency you want, right? You can top up with a variety of other where's that at? I think it's under payments. I think you can send Google Pay, Amazon payments, even PayPal, right? Your debit card, credit card, all of that, and you can buy your Bitcoin Cash, have it here on the wallet, send it any place around the world, fast and very low fees, not Uniswap fees, not Ethereum fees, right? This stuff is counterproductive to mass adoption, correct? It's counterproductive to that, right? So Btcmyk, many of you who watch the channel know what we're all about. We're a universal basic income bridge cryptocurrency, right? That one thing that we've done is we inherit the Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash ledger, right? So, whether you believe the true Bitcoin is Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, or if they're one and the same, what we've decided to do is that based on the original direction of what we were able to gather from the Satoshi white paper, we believe Bitcoin Cash is more in line with whatever Satoshi could have saw right into the future. But we respect the community uses Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has been this legacy product that has endured. And even if there was changes made to it, a lot of community has been into Bitcoin and is linked to Bitcoin in some way, because it was the first cryptocurrency, right? That we know of. But in any event, what we've decided to do is to try to help you understand what Btcmyk is. It's not some scam project. It's not some project trying to ride the wave of Bitcoin or fork it and steal Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash holders' value. What it does is, as a universal basic income project, it gives, in relation to how much Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash you hold, a Btcmyk token in relation to that, right? So on par. It deflates, and for the tokens that don't get claimed, some of them help to provide UBI, some of them help to do that, and then they get burnt off. So it's a little bit, it's going to end up different from maybe Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, because what will happen is, if the cryptocurrencies don't get claimed ultimately, they will go, most of them will be burnt, and Btcmyk will further deflate, right? So it gives this game theory of if you get the cryptocurrencies now, you'll probably have more value later. And similar to what you get with the Bitcoin halving, these are just mechanisms, I think, that lead to some market incentive for people to participate in. And if I'm honest about the entire thing, we have to understand that being a good project isn't enough anymore. We have been trained in the cryptocurrency space to have this inclination to profit and profit a lot. And people don't care if it's a Ponzi scheme. They don't care if it's a pyramid scheme. They want to make money. And that's just an unfortunate truth that has hurt the development and advancement of our space. But in saying that, Btcmyk has went after the idea of implementing that in to give them that gambling rush or high and give them value in that way where they can have the game theory in it and the tokenomics in it, but at the same time we build a product that is helpful to the world, that's going to help to heal people in the world, right, through universal basic income. It also has a rebate function, an advertising function, which simply means sites that facilitate the cryptocurrency, like Btcmyk.com. Like if you buy a product off Amazon or something like that, you get money back in Btcmyk coins. If you have a business or you have an interest, you want to promote or advertise, you can take the Btcmyk coins and use them to advertise and promote yourself in any way you see fit on the site, as long as it's not something crazy that's going to violate international laws. So it has an internal value in the network itself, across the network itself, and the value of it itself. And so it's a very interesting project, and it's an SLP token that you can get involved with, right? So that's all I think I want to say in this video. SLP tokens are going to be 100% the future. I probably forgot to mention that I believe it's been said that they're going to appear in Bitcoin ATM machines, right? So you'll be able to send your SLP tokens to your local ATMs and withdraw them to Bitcoin ATMs, so on and so forth. And so what else could you ask for, right, as far as mass adoption and incentivizing people? You got the universal basic income. That's a hot topic during a global pandemic and a future of automation that's going to displace about 49% of workers across the globe. So you got this UBI that's going to help support them, but by everybody collecting it, we estimate that about 80% of the globe, through our research, would opt for UBI. They're going to be able to get that on Bitcoin Cash, right? Blockchain, right? Going to be able to get that on there. And so this is all great. This is fantastic. So make sure you join. Make sure, again, when you get your wallet, so you can store your free Btcmyk you're going to get free. Make sure that you come here, type in our referral code, Btcmyk. You're going to get earn money when you do it. You have to put it in there to get some money, though, right? So you're going to put that Btcmyk in there and get some free cryptocurrency and our cryptocurrency as well. And I think that's about all I want to say in this video. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe. If you have any questions about Btcmyk or SLP tokens, how cool they are, feel free to ask. And if we don't know the answer, we will find somebody who does. But that's all I got to say in this video, guys. If you like content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, as always, take care.